Before you start, if you have Philips Hue lights, sync them to your screen now. The blue your room turns while you shadow is not just a background, it is part of how this works. Your brain retains more under blue light, so let the room work with you, not against you. Now, let's begin. This is the third video in our love bombing series. In the first video, we looked at romantic love bombing, the overwhelming attention that arises at the beginning of a relationship and creates a dependency that is difficult to understand and even more difficult to leave. In the second video, we move to the workplace, the manager who treats you as exceptional, the company that sells you a dream during the interview, and what happens when the dream meets reality. In this video, we are going online. Because love bombing has found a new and very efficient home in the digital world, on social media platforms, on dating apps, in comment sections and direct messages and notification badges that light up your screen at all hours of the day. The mechanism is identical to what we have discussed before, but the scale is different, and the speed is different, and those two differences change everything. Imagine you post something online, a photo, a thought, something you made or wrote or noticed. Within a few hours, someone you do not know has liked it, commented on it, shared it, and sent you a direct message telling you that your content is unlike anything else they have seen. Over the next few days, they engage with everything you post. They watch your stories within minutes of you uploading them. They remember details from things you said weeks ago and reference them in conversation. They make you feel, through a screen, more seen than many people who know you in person. This is digital love bombing, and it is happening to more people more often than most of us realize. The reason digital love bombing is so effective comes down to something very specific about how social media platforms are designed. Every notification, every like, every comment, every new follower triggers a small release of dopamine in the brain. This is not an accident. It is the result of deliberate design choices made by people who understood the neuroscience of reward and built platforms around it. When someone love bombs you digitally, they are essentially flooding this system. Instead of one notification, you receive 20. Instead of occasional engagement, you receive constant engagement. Your brain, which was already primed by the platform to respond to attention with a dopamine release, now receives that signal continuously. The effect is intense, disproportionate, and very difficult to ignore. Even when, rationally, you know that this person is essentially a stranger, dating applications have created a particularly concentrated environment for digital love bombing. The structure of these platforms, where attention is the primary currency, and the goal is to stand out among dozens or hundreds of other profiles, makes excessive, performative interest a rational strategy for many users. Research published in 2024 examining behavior on major dating platforms found that messages containing intense personal compliments, declarations of strong feelings, and references to a shared future arrived, on average, within the first 3 exchanges. People who received this kind of messaging reported feeling significantly more interested in the sender than in people who communicated more gradually, even when they described the intense messages as slightly uncomfortable. This is the paradox of digital love bombing on dating apps. It works, at least initially, even when the recipient suspects it. The emotional response arrives before the rational evaluation does. By the time you think this seems like a lot, the dopamine has already been released. There is a specific form of digital love bombing that operates differently from the rest, and it is worth examining separately. It happens not in private messages, but in public spaces, comment sections, forums, community groups. Someone begins to consistently support everything you say. They agree with your opinions, defend you in disagreements, amplify your posts, and position themselves as your most loyal advocate in a public space where others can see it. This public validation is particularly powerful because it does 2 things simultaneously. It makes you feel supported and appreciated, and it makes you look more credible and interesting to other people. The love bomber becomes associated with your reputation, withdrawing from the relationship, even if you begin to feel uncomfortable, starts to feel costly in a way that purely private relationships do not. This is a more sophisticated form of the pattern, and it is more common in professional online spaces, LinkedIn, industry forums, creator communities, than most people acknowledge. What is digital love bombing actually trying to achieve? The answer varies depending on the context, but researchers have identified several consistent motivations. In romantic contexts, it is often an attempt to accelerate intimacy, to compress the slow, uncertain process of getting to know someone into a shorter time frame, using intensity as a substitute for depth. In professional or creative contexts, it is frequently transactional. The person bombing you wants something, whether that is a collaboration, an introduction, access to your audience, or simply the social capital that comes from being associated with you. In some cases, it is a control strategy, establishing emotional dependency before you have enough information to evaluate whether the relationship is actually good for you. What is consistent across all of these contexts is the timing. Digital love bombing always arrives before you have had the opportunity to form an accurate picture of the person delivering it. This is not incidental. It is the point. There is something worth saying about the people on the other side of this, the ones doing the bombing, often without fully understanding that this is what they are doing. Social media platforms reward intensity. An account that engages enthusiastically with others grows faster than one that engages moderately. A person who sends bold, confident messages on a dating app receives more responses than one who is measured and cautious. The platforms themselves have created an environment in which love bombing behavior is not just possible, but incentivized. Some people learn very quickly that overwhelming attention gets results, and they continue doing it not out of manipulation, but out of simple pattern recognition. This does not make the impact on the recipient any less real, but it adds a layer of complexity to the experience that is worth holding on to, especially when you are trying to understand what happened and why. What can you do when you notice this pattern directed at you? The most useful thing is also the most counterintuitive: slow down. When someone is flooding you with attention and it feels overwhelming, the natural response is either to lean into it, because it feels good, or to pull back entirely, because it feels like too much. Neither of these responses gives you the information you actually need. What gives you information is time. Genuine interest sustains itself. It is still there after a week, after a month, after the initial intensity has settled into something more ordinary. Digital love bombing, by contrast, tends to escalate quickly and then plateau or disappear when it does not receive the response it was designed to create. You do not have to decide immediately how you feel about someone who is giving you a great deal of attention. You are allowed to receive the attention, notice how it makes you feel, and wait to see what happens when you respond at your own pace rather than theirs. The answer will usually arrive on its own, without you having to do very much at all. Digital love bombing is, in many ways, a product of the environment we have built. Platforms designed to maximize engagement have created the perfect conditions for attention to become a tool rather than a feeling. Understanding this does not make you immune to it. The dopamine response does not care whether you can name what is happening. But it does give you something that is more durable than immunity. It gives you perspective. And in a world designed to make you feel everything as quickly and as intensely as possible, perspective is a genuinely rare thing to have. That is the end of today's shadowing session. If the series is helping you, subscribe and turn on notifications. New videos are always on the way. And the next one in this series is already waiting for you. Same blue, same ritual, different topic. We will see you there.